So welcome back to another Thursday on the Pagan Perspective, and this week we're doing show and tell. So I had so many things to choose from for what I could do to show you guys. And what I ended up deciding was, instead of showing you an object, right, a collection of objects I have, or my artwork, because I do digital painting and stuff with my hands, I decided to show you what the project was that I've been working on. And it really does relate in with my path quite a bit. So yesterday was the solstice, and excuse me, it was not the solstice, it was the equinox, the fall equinox for us. And what's been going on, my garden's about done, right? There's very little left in it, even though there's supposedly another harvest festival. You know, I'll be getting winter greens for a while, but my squash, all of that, pretty much done. And I'll show you guys that stuff in a little bit. It's kind of bright though, so I don't know how well the camera's going to pick it up. But I've been working on the garden, and I am happiest when I'm doing projects. Now, in my path, for me, being a pagan is about that recognition and connection with the cycle of birth, growth, life, death, decay, and regeneration. And there's nowhere more that is visible than in the garden. So I'm in zone 6. We're going into the winter. You can't really grow very much outside without assistance here. So what I've been doing is I just brought in a greenhouse. It's kind of cool. It was something that I built years ago, so it's got a lot of repairs to be done on it. It's a 12 by 6 on a trailer greenhouse. The camera's sitting on it right now on the hub, actually. And then I've been building these beds, which will have built-in attachable and detachable cold frames. So the hope is that we'll be growing this year. Now, we moved in the first of this year, and I was able to grow by just kind of not doing too much, probably about a quarter of our crops, of our produce needs. And I'm hoping to be more in the 75 to 90% this coming year. So I'll show you guys what I'm doing. But the basics of it, if you guys are familiar with permaculture, what I'm working on here is my zone 1. So this is the highly maintained zone that I will be in all the time. Every day it'll get a lot of attention. It's not my food forest zone, it's not my wild zone, although it's right next to that. It's the area that I am carefully maintaining. Now, I like to share. I don't garden for me. Everybody, all the life gets to be here. I will encourage and discourage certain things, like the gopher you'll see in a little bit. But basically, this is where I choose. Everything that we do is how we interact in the world, is how we interact with the world around us. And this is a place where I can choose to create my ideal relationship with the world, where I'm creating these lush ecosystems and oasis for life, and the birds and the microbes, and everybody gets to be here in abundance. This is my hope. So let me show you guys. This camera doesn't actually, the lens, I can't automatically zoom, and it isn't really made for this, but hopefully I'll be able to get some good shots. I might have to do some voiceovers. We'll see. There'll be a lot of editing in here, a lot of choppiness. But let me show you guys. Really excited to be able to show what I'm working on. So I'm going to zoom in on the beds here, and these are all still being worked on. I have several different phases going on here. So they start like this, which is this rigid foam insulation. I put mesh, and then I stucco, and then I will be painting them. And put some extra chicken wire. There's chicken wire underneath the cardboard, and then there's more chicken wire underneath that because we've got gopher problem here. And right now I'm loading this up with manure. Let me see if I can get this to focus. Okay. So this is pretty fresh. Like, I put my hand in it. Sorry, it's not focusing again. And you know, it's warm. So people say don't garden with fresh manure, it's going to burn your plants, and there is some truth to that, but it's not quite as simple as that. So I'm actually going to use this to my advantage because these beds I designed to actually have cold frames, which are like mini greenhouses, fit right on top of them. So what I'm going to do is going to put the bottom layer of this manure, which hopefully all winter long, and we do have winters, they're kind of mild, but this is zone 6 here. Let me focus this again. So what will happen is I'll put soil on top of this, and that will hopefully be composting and heating it up with the cold frame in addition to that. So the other thing I'm going to do, so I'm going to put some straw down on top of this layer. And there's quite a bit of bedding in here, but the reason I'm going to put the straw down, walk around, I hope this doesn't make you guys too dizzy. So the camera was hating how bright it was over there, so I took it over here. This is a bag of mycelium. This particular one is a giant garden mushroom, I think. I also have some oyster and some shiitake and shaggy mane, which I will be inoculating into each one of those bags. So I've got 8 of these, and I said bags, but I'll be inoculating each of the beds, excuse me. Then putting a layer of soil on top of that and planting into that soil directly. So I said these aren't done yet. Let me show you what happens, what they look like when they get painted. Now, none of these are actual beds. Again, excuse the messy yard. Okay. This is my incredibly messy yard right now. Got a lot of fall crops. But all of these structures here, these are all made the exact same way. So they're just foam, mesh, stucco, and then I'll be painting it the same color. Here's some of the straw. I'll need a lot more. So here's a bed that was inoculated much earlier. You can see that white stuff down there. This is a couple weeks actually. And that will also, that's basically the vegetative body, and the mushroom that you see is the fruiting body. So this is underneath the trailer right here. And you can see some of the stages. So I flattened down the plants or the weeds back here. Then I put this mesh down. And this isn't necessarily the reason I'm doing it, is because we've got gophers here. Next, you put a bunch of cardboard. Let's see, I don't think this is focusing. Try not to get my camera dirty. You can see the cardboard. And then you start layering organic material on top of it. Now this is nowhere near enough material. I just put this amount down so it didn't blow away. What I've actually got, so this is a 600 square foot area. It's not actually that big. That's about 30 by 20 feet. Now I've got 10 yards of manure here. There's another 2 of mulch, just composted brown, you know, woody material. It'll go on top of the manure to keep it from having that horsey smell, which I like, but I want to be respectful of the neighbors. And then I'll probably bring in a little bit more mulch. So that'll be the very top layer, and I'll be spreading straw as well. So I wanted to show you this too, because this has to do with the whole renewal and recycling and from death, rebirth, and all of that. This is our compost, and as you can see, it's actually a blender. I brought it outside from the kitchen, which this is not going to focus, but the glare is so bad. But there's our kitchen door, and that's all sun. It's not very good for my camera to look at it. But anyways, so we put everything in. We've got our coffee grounds, eggshells, charred stalks, onion peels, everything that was quote-unquote waste from yesterday is in here. And what I'll do in a few minutes is I'll put some water in, up to, you know, maybe the quarter of it. I'll blend it up till it's this nice slurry. And we only use this machine for that. This is a cheap blender. It was like 15 bucks or something, and it only is used for compost. And everything goes in, except the strings on the tea bags, but the bags themselves can go in coffee, pretty much anything. Oh my goodness. Do you see her? Hi. You're really cute. You're why I put chicken wire there though, sweetie. So I don't want to hurt her or her pups. But I do have this one area that I want to grow things in, and I'd rather she not eat all of them. Because this year she took down, it was funny, it's like in the cartoons when they're pulling plants underground, like they really do that. She just took everything except my squash, so I got about probably 60 or 7 actual squash. My squash, sunflowers, and a couple of my tomatoes did okay, but pretty much everything else, all of my my carrots, my sweet potatoes, any underground thing just got demolished. So while we're watching her, I hope my voice doesn't make her too nervous. I want to talk about my strategy with gardening. I believe in sharing, and one of the reasons that I do the gardening is because I love to have life all around me. And I'm not interested in trying to compete with everybody else in terms of, you know, the rest of life. I don't want to kill this little girl because she's doing her thing and having, you know, this is what she does. Oh, can you see those pretty teeth on her? Those whiskers. I want to create, I think that humans, we have this very beautiful gift of being able to understand systems, or at least try to understand systems. And we can work to create more abundant ones, and that's what I want to do. Now, there has to be a little bit of compromise. So I took this 20 by 30 space, and I'm laying down the wire, and I'm going to lay down more wire and more cardboard, and then about 6 inches to a foot of organic material on top of that. But then everything around there is being left for her, being left for the bees, being left for everybody else. And then what I plant will be here for the bees, for the birds, and frankly the grasshoppers and the crickets and the pill bugs or roly-polies, whatever you call them. They'll all have a place and an opportunity too. I'm not interested in trying to shut all of them out. I want to share, as long as I get enough that I'm going to be able to feed my family. And I've set it up so that, you know, I have this greenhouse, not a very big greenhouse, and the beds, I'll have about 150 square feet of beds, again, which isn't terribly much, but hopefully that'll produce most of our produce needs for the two of us for most of the year, and doing it in a way that there's room for her and for all the little pups that she makes, which is not this time of year, but she's preparing for winter. And really I don't care if her tunnels go underneath. I just would rather she not devastate my garden like she did. My garden would have been multiple times the size if she hadn't decided that she wanted to eat most of it. But she left enough that I'm grateful. Okay, look, I think she's getting to the stage where she's plugging her hole. Are you plugging it, sweetie? Yep, I think she's done. I'm pretty close to being done.